All right, how's everyone doing today? I'm going to get to the point. Today, we're going to be going over getting mobile hotspots for our student athletes on bus rides to away games. I think this is important just because, as educators, we expect our students to put being student first and being in student athletes, and we're just not giving them the time to do it. Student athletes already are missing about 2 hours a day for practices, and then 30% of high school students as well work. So if you add the 30% into that, they're losing a lot of time. And on away games specifically, they're getting home late and not having enough time to work on their work. So, so student athletes don't have the time they need, as I just went into. 56% of high schoolers are actually student athletes, which is the majority. I assume the majority of here also competed in student athletics and understand just how long those bus rides can feel and not having enough time to just work on schoolwork there because it either gets dark or don't have your schoolwork with you. And the problem nowadays is back then there was a lot of paperwork that we could do, and students would be able to work on the bus and have textbooks. Nowadays, it's pretty much impossible, being as we digitized everything. And as teachers, we need to understand that. And as administrators, we need to understand that they no longer have that time frame to actually work on it because they don't have the internet or bandwidth to do it. So, round, what was this going into? So, I counted it up. There were 360 athletic events Hayes High attended in 2023 and 2024. Um, that's the school we're going to use for reference here because it's the closest one to us. There were 264 of those events, which is 73.3%, actually took place as away games, which means that we only had another 96 for home games. So 134 of those 264, which is 50.8%, took place on school nights. So that would be nights where they came home and then they had to get up and go to school the next day. Round trips, so that's to and from the event, take as little as 2 hours and up to 8 hours. 8 hours being, say, Liberal, which is our league opponent that is the farthest away from which is down near Oklahoma. Arrival time from home, from away games, is typically between the hours of 8 p.m. and 12 a.m., which is very tough for students because that's around the time that they're supposed to be winding down, getting ready for school the next day. Students or student athletes often must choose between getting a good night's sleep and studying for the class after they get home, which is very difficult for them. So, what's the solution? We get mobile hotspots for the athletic buses, which Hayes High typically we have three main buses we like to use. We have two Pride buses and a third one which we just like to use as well. We equip all three of those with mobile hotspots, which will allow students to complete schoolwork on the bus rather than worrying about doing it when they get home. So, this mobile hotspot specifically, I'll go into it in the next slide, will allow students to download, complete, and submit assignments. They will also be able to stream and browse online for videos their instructors posted to help them, or use, say, Quizlet to study for a quiz the next day. The goal is to reduce the stress levels for our student athletes and turn bus rides to and from athletic events into mobile learning labs to allow them to be student athletes. This will allow student athletes to be able to put academic first and get the rest they need to be productive during the school day the next day. So, uh, their cost is actually relatively cheap. We could look at doing this on a bigger scale as well in the future, say just bus rides in general, allowing students to be able to access and do homework on those. Currently, I'm using the website Kajit. They do a lot of school bus work. They do a lot of what I want to say. They do a lot of installation, and a lot of the data comes from them actually. So to install for them is about $25 per bus. So we're using three buses, so $75. And then we're going to get currently the best mobile router on the market, which is the Netgear Nighthawk M1 4G LTE mobile router from AT&T. This runs just a little bit under 250 per router without taxes and all that. And then to get the data we need per month with high enough bandwidth to sustain, it sustains 65 students well with the parameters that we had on the previous slide. Um, it is about $25 per router per month, so that's about $300 per year per router, so that's $900 per year. And then for the first year, we'll also have to get the SIM card, so another $60 total, which comes out to without taxes for the first year, just under $1,200, which is actually relatively cheap for 3 buses. And then the years after that, it'll be about $900 without taxes for just keeping the data running. And being as we're a school and AT&T is a smart company, they will more than likely have discounts for us buying in bulk and being schools. So the price can always go lower, and if per se we needed to, it could go up, but I highly doubt it'll go up. So how do we implement this? Obviously, we put it on all 3 buses. Most of our away games are actually on separate days, so most of our events will be separate days, so we don't have to worry about who gets what bus. But for instances, if we did have a day that we scheduled overscheduled, the buses with the routers would go to the athletic teams with the most student athletes on it to allow for more athletes to be able to access the data. So, what impact? This impact will allow the students to be able to get their homework done in a timely manner, which will only improve their productivity during the week, as they will now understand that they have this time frame to get homework done. They will also be able to have less stress because they know that they have this allotted time frame to get it done. Um, they will also be able to rest when they get home rather than having to worry about choosing between homework or sleeping and getting prepared for the next day. This will actually help the teachers because normally when student athletes come home and they get to school the next day, they're tired and they're stressed because they have so much stuff to do. This will allow them to not have that, which will actually improve the learning environment. As they will be able to get enough sleep, they won't be slogging through each day. Uh, and as well, most of the coaches on our staff are actually teachers here, so they'll be able to grade assignments and upload schoolwork and grades faster while they're on the bus rides as well to allow students to be able to view that. Um, Finally, I want to say that student athletes will be able to put being a student first again, which is a great thing and something that we expect every day from them. So, thank you. I assume we'll be going into this a little bit more in a uh, future board meeting. So, thank you. And if you have any questions, don't be free to ask. Feel free to ask.